Welcome everyone to the Lionfish Workshop. We are super excited that you're here. At any time, if you have questions, you are welcome to ask them. We have Jessica from FWC is our instructor, and she's going to be sharing with us lots of great information. And then the plan is that after all this is done, we will plan a time when the waters are warm and we'll actually implement some of what she teaches us. So I'm going to toss it over to Jessica at this time. And Jessica, tell us a little bit more about you and what you're planning to teach us tonight.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen because I've got like a little intro slide on there. Maybe. I don't know. My computer just really is not like having this today. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see? Yes. Okay. Sweet.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah, so just to introduce myself, my name is Jessica. I am actually originally from Minnesota. I grew up there. I just moved, well, I didn't just move to Florida. I moved to Florida in 2014 to go to school for marine biology. I got my degree at the University of West Florida in Pensacola. And I have been with FWC for a little over a year now. I started in November of 2019, so I guess a little bit more than a year. And mainly what I do with FWC, obviously we do lionfish, but I do a lot of the outreach and education, so stuff like I'm doing at the moment, and we also do a lot of scuba diving, and we have a bunch of different programs that I'll get into when I actually do the presentation. But I do a lot of the outreach and education stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to talk to you guys today about is a lionfish, specifically the invasion in Florida. So like I said, you know, I work with Florida Fish and Wildlife. I'm part of the Marine Fisheries Division. So we do a lot of stuff with lionfish, of course, but also artificial reefs, saltwater regulations, rule making, and also outreach and education on how to, you know, fish for saltwater fish ethically and conservatively. So today we will be talking about lionfish. This slide is just kind of an overview of lionfish. We will get into all of this in more detail. But lionfish are originally from the Indo-Pacific. They were introduced into Florida waters in probably the 1980s. That's when we were first really starting to notice them. Since their introduction, they've been established throughout the whole Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and down into the Caribbean. This just means that they have thrived in these environments. So established means that they are able to reproduce successfully and live in these new environments. They reproduce very quickly and very often. They also don't have much of a predator here, and they're pretty adaptive, so they can, you know, kind of move into any space that they can find. And so what I'll do is I'll talk about pretty much all of these things in more detail.
Put it over here.
Yeah, in front of you.
They can't even see me.
No. They'll see you.
They can't see me.
When you're talking.
Yeah, but they see my screen, so they don't see me standing up here, right? All right.
Well, we do see a thumbnail of you. We see a thumbnail of you. So if you did want to stop the screen share and show, you know, the room, you're welcome to do that at any time.
No, I'm just going to come and sit right next to the computer and the phone. That way, you guys will be able to hear me better.
Perfect.
So first, what we'll do is talk about invasive species in general. So an invasive species is an organism that is brought to a new habitat or region by people, and it has a negative effect or impact on that environment. Some other examples of invasive species are going to be the Burmese python, which I'm sure, you know, most of you are familiar with. Down in the Everglades, they're a huge problem, just like the lionfish are. Hydrilla is an aquatic plant, so it is freshwater. But basically what it does is it just grows like crazy, spreads like crazy. And, you know, it blocks out the sun from other vegetation that might be in the water. And then kudzu is another example of an invasive species. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this or has seen it. but it's just a rapid growing vine, and it pretty much covers everything in its path.
We have hydrilla and kudzu all over Tallahassee, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, okay, so then, some of you might be familiar with it. So lionfish are an invasive species. There is a difference between invasive and non-native. So something that is non-native, was introduced into a new habitat, but isn't having that negative effect on the environment. So lionfish are invasive because they are having that negative effect. So a non-native species is not necessarily invasive, but an invasive species is always a non-native species. And then this is just a little, figure that we like to show. It's a fairly common trend that invasive species tend to follow. So down at the bottom left, you have, the introduction where they're first introduced, and you're not seeing them or seeing the impact that they're having because no one really knows that they're there. And then over time, they start to reproduce and grow and spread, and that's where we have that rapid growth phase where their populations are really just, booming and expanding. And eventually at that hump, kind of in the middle, their populations get too big and there are too many of them. And a lot of the time they will die out because they've used too many of the resources. Sometimes they will, this will even lead to like cannibalism. And that's where we see that little bit of a short decline, where you see their, the populations get a little bit smaller. And then over time, the populations will eventually level off. And during this leveling off, they have reached their carrying capacity is what it's called. And it basically means that the populations are as large as they can get based on the available resources that they have. And right now, this is the exact trend that we have been seeing with lionfish. We believe that we were in that short decline phase pretty recently because their populations have been less than what they were when we first really started seeing them. So unfortunately, we can expect to see them leveling off here soon. So there are 41 non-native fishes in Florida waters, and 5 of them have become established. So again, established means that they are able to reproduce and live successfully in this new environment. Lionfish is obviously one of those, but just a couple other examples. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with some of the pictures on the slide, but the yellow guy is the yellow tang, a favorite aquarium fish, but they are not native to Florida waters. And then a new one that we're seeing on the far right is that little brown guy with the white spot by his tail. That is the regal damselfish, and we're seeing them all over up here in the Gulf of Mexico. We're pretty sure that they were, more of a Caribbean fish, and they've migrated or moved up this way. And we're seeing them everywhere, but they're little. And we don't know what kind of impact they're having yet. They're, we've just recently started seeing them. So I think that's a new big one that's going to be, that we've, got our eyes on. But the point of today is to talk about lionfish. So lionfish are most definitely the worst marine invasion we have ever seen. So these graphs, they're maps, sorry, are going to show the way the populations have spread over the years. So 1985 is, the year that we're pretty sure that they were introduced. They were released out of Dania Beach, which is in South Florida. You can see the little dot there, bottom of the map, or bottom of Florida. And they were released from an aquarium. So for these next few sequences of maps, you guys are going to see just where these populations, how much they have spread through Florida and Florida waters, all within about 30 to 40 years. And then 2019, I do not have one for 2020, but you can imagine it looks exactly the same. And these aren't even, these are just reported sightings. So this doesn't mean that this is every single lionfish that is out there in the water. This is just where people have reported seeing them. So you can see, you know, they've covered the entire coast of Florida, all throughout the Gulf of Mexico, down into the Caribbean, all the way up the Atlantic coast. And one really interesting thing is, you know, they're getting all the way up towards Rhode Island up there, which is pretty crazy. The waters are fairly cold up there. So we don't expect to be seeing them year round because lionfish, which we'll talk about in a moment, do not like really cold water. So, but, you know, they're still making their way up there in the warmer months. And then all the way down, you know, to the Caribbean, off the coast of Brazil and everything. They're just going crazy. So then to talk about, you know, their habitat preference, lionfish don't have much of a preference. They do prefer some sort of structure. It doesn't really matter what kind of structure it is. It can be a natural reef, an artificial reef, such as, you know, like man-made ones or like sunken ships. They have been found in mangroves and seagrass beds. They can be found at pretty much any depths. Lionfish have been found at depths of 1,000 feet. And here, where the third bullet says that they can tolerate temperature as low as 50 degrees, that's, you know, why we're seeing them up the East Coast so much, but probably not year round. The water definitely gets colder than that up there. But because it does, I guess, get a little bit warmer in the summer months, they are able to make their way up there. Also, we are seeing them in bays, estuaries, the mouths of rivers. Salinity doesn't really seem to be too much of a factor for them, which is very unfortunate for us. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with what salinity is, but it's how salty the water is. So 4 parts per thousand is going to be pretty much fresh water, and 35 parts per thousand, that's like what the ocean is. So to be found in 4 parts per thousand is a little scary. They also have a high site fidelity. So what that means is basically once lionfish find a spot to live, they're going to stay there. They don't really tend to migrate much or search for new habitat, you know, unless they were to wipe out all of their food resources on one. But once, you know, the larvae have settled into a place, the lionfish will probably stay there. And they are a demersal species. And so what this means is that they tend to hang out on the bottom. You won't really see them swimming up in the water column. They tend to stay fairly close to whatever structure they live on. And they can be found, you know, if you like look under ledges or in holes, you will most likely find a lionfish. So one of the other really invasive characteristics that lionfish have is their reproductive habits. So lionfish reach sexual maturity within just a year. Typically, you know, it says 5 to 8 years for most other reef fish. So after just a year, lionfish are already able to reproduce. They lay about, well, they don't lay. So whenever they do spawn, they release about 30,000 eggs. And that seems like a lot because it is a lot, but compared to other fish, it is not that much. Most fish do release, you know, thousands and thousands of eggs, but most fish tend to spawn once or twice a year tops. They have very specific conditions that they need, whereas lionfish don't have that. They are able to reproduce every 4 days. So essentially, lionfish eggs could be released every 4 days, and 30,000 of them every time. So yes, that is a lot. And you can see in the bottom left picture, that is an egg sac. So another really unique thing about lionfish is that their eggs are not laid, you know, like on the sea floor. They are actually encased within this little egg sac, and the egg sac floats up to the surface. So when lionfish mate, there's not a ton of research done on it, but we're pretty sure what they do is they swim up into the water column, the female releases the eggs, the male, you know, fertilizes it, and then it goes up to the surface, and currents and wind and everything take these egg sacs who knows where, which is probably why their populations have spread so quickly over, you know, such a short period of time. And also lionfish are able to reproduce throughout most of the year. As long as the water is fairly warm, they are able to reproduce. I think I covered that. All right, and now the spines. So lionfish have 18 venomous spines. I can't really show you guys everything because nobody's here. So I will just try to describe it as best as I can, but for the two of you, I can show you. So they have 13 dorsal spines, which are the spines on their back. That's these guys right here. So you can see in the lionfish spine anatomy photo, that's the circled, those are the circled spines on the top. They have 13 there. They have 1 on each of their pelvic fins, which is this little fin right here. So the big fins on the side, you know, that everyone knows that fan out and are beautiful. Those are called the pectoral fins, and those do not have any spines on them. I still don't recommend grabbing a lionfish, but if you were to touch that, it's not going to hurt you as bad. But so this fin, there's normally 2 for the 2 of you in here. And each of the pelvic fins have a spine. And then their anal fin, which is the fin below the tail, has 3 spines. So that's what, you know, gives you a total of 18. And for those of you guys on the computer, I hope you can see it okay in that picture. But the top circle of the spines, those are the dorsal spines. The picture, like kind of towards the front of the fish, underneath it, those are going to be the pelvic spines, and then back by the tail, those are the anal spines. So the spines are not actually hollow like you would think, like a, you know, a snake's fang. They are actually solid, and as you can see in that picture, they have a groove. So like the spine, there's a groove on each side of it, and that's where the venom is housed. And then there's a tissue which covers the entire spine. So once you get poked by one of their spines, that tissue pushes back, and that's how the venom is released. It's not actually like injected into you. And then the venom. The venom is a neuromuscular toxin. It's very serious. It is very dangerous. It can cause, you know, if you were to get poked by a lionfish spine, the venom will cause swelling and lots of pain, heat, temporary paralysis, numbness. It's pretty crazy. So you definitely want to be very careful ever handling a lionfish. No one has died from the lionfish venom, but if you are ever to get stung, we recommend applying heat as quickly as you possibly can. What this does is it just denatures the proteins in the venom and stops it from spreading through your bloodstream. But, you know, if it's your first sting, it might be good to go to the doctor as well. Everyone reacts differently to the venom. Some people, it doesn't faze them at all. Some people have to go to the hospital and will be experiencing pain for months. So it really just, you know, kind of depends on who you are as a person. And there is no anti-venom for a lionfish sting. I tend to get that question a lot. Yeah, all right. Covered that. And so one big misconception that people tend to have with lionfish is people think lionfish are poisonous. They are not poisonous, they are venomous. There actually is a difference between the two, which I never used to know. But so if something is poisonous, it has to be ingested or like eaten or swallowed or something. For something to be venomous, it has to be injected. So lionfish are venomous, not poisonous, which is what makes, you know, their meat okay to eat, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But a lot of people tend to think lionfish are poisonous, so they think that you can't eat them, which is not true, because they're very good. And then here's just to kind of talk again about, you know, the anatomy of the lionfish. So number one, you've got those dorsal spines up there that I talked about, the 13. Number two is going to be the dorsal fin. So that's just like slightly behind the spines. Number three is their caudal fin or their tail. For the pectoral fins, those are the big ones on the sides that they fan out. And those ones do not have any spines. But number 5, that is going to be their pelvic spines, which are connected to the pelvic fins. Number 6, and then 7 and 8, those are those 3 anal spines and the anal fin. And so one of the big things that make lionfish so invasive, besides everything else I've already said, is the way that they feed. So lionfish do not have a preference on what they eat. They will eat pretty much anything that gets in their way. They will eat fish, crabs, shrimp, invertebrates, anything that they can fit into their mouth, they will eat it. And they can eat prey up to half of their body size. So that would be, me eating like a 2.5 foot something. And the way that they feed is amazing too. So what they do is they swallow their prey whole. Lionfish don't really have any teeth, so they don't actually like chew their food. But what they do is they fan out the big pectoral fins, the big beautiful ones that don't have spines, and they kind of corner their prey. And then they have a protruding mouth, so their mouth actually like not like shoots out, but extends out. And what it does is it creates like this little, because it's incredibly fast. It's like not even, it's like an inch of a second. It's insane. And it creates this vacuum and it just sucks the fish right into their mouth. And lionfish eat so much, like they have been known to eat themselves to death because they just keep eating and eating and eating. And so just some of the examples on here, are to kind of show like lionfish will eat anything. So they're eating a lot of the smaller fish because they don't tend to get very big. They, are eating a lot of our important species. So like our snappers and our groupers, like the ones that you would expect to see on your dinner plate, and shrimps and crab and lobsters. And then, our fish that are important for our coral reefs as well. So that's going to be like your parrotfishes who help keep the reef clean, or your cleaner shrimp that also help keep the reef clean, and other fish. And so then, just to kind of go back over everything negative about the lionfish, a term that we use for them is opportunistic generalists. So that just means that they, will eat anything that they can. They are not picky, so anything that comes in their way, they will eat it. They reduce recruitment and prey biomass. So basically what that means is they reduce the amount of opportunity there is for small juvenile fishes to grow up and join the adult populations. And also, if there aren't fish growing up, we're not going to see those large populations and those large fish that we would like to see on our dinner plate. As of right now, they don't really have any predators here besides humans. They're, in their native range, grouper tend to eat them. We do see grouper and sharks and stuff eating lionfish, but it's just not enough to really like make an impact on their environment. Most of our big, large predatory fishes, they don't see lionfish as a prey item. Lionfish also, as you know, they're very colorful and beautiful, but they stand out. They do not really blend in. And typically in the animal world, when an animal exhibits these like really bright colors, it means, hey, I'm venomous, I'm poisonous, stay away. And so most of our predatory fishes are not seeing them as food. And then also, because there are so many in one small area, they tend to compete with a lot of the larger predatory fish. And what this does is, they eat everything, and this just destroys the habitats that they're living on. And like I said, humans, we are the only real predator that right now is making an impact on their populations. So just to kind of go over how, to catch lionfish, I suppose what I'll do, since nobody's actually here, I will skip through a couple of these slides, and then I'll go through how to like use a pole spear and handle lionfish and everything, or harvest lionfish. And I'll get rid of sharing my screen so you guys can physically see me doing that. But so basically the way to harvest lionfish is by scuba diving. It's the most effective way. Some people have been able to catch lionfish on hook and line and through traps, but unfortunately it's really just those ways are not, you know, effective enough. So most of it is done by scuba diving. And so this is just to, you know, cover what we use to harvest lionfish. It's very simple. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need an actual spear gun. Lionfish don't really see us as predators, so they are not afraid of us. You can get right up to a lionfish and spear it, no problem, which is a little handheld full spear. And then you want to have some sort of containment unit to put the lionfish in when you're underwater, because typically you get more than one. And the ones that we use is Zookeeper is the brand, and they have a hard plastic on the outside, so you don't have to worry about the spines like coming through or anything while you're carrying it underwater. And then, you know, we just recommend to wear gloves of some sort. Anything is better than nothing. Excuse me, they do make puncture resistant gloves, so they kind of have like a tough rubber on them, and that just helps to protect your hands somewhat as well. And then I'll demonstrate how to use all of this in a moment when I'm done with the presentation. And so some of the things, you know, that we have done over time to allow the harvesting of lionfish and to make it easy and to really try to like target their populations. There is no fishing license required to harvest lionfish. There is no size limit or bag limit or time limit. So you can harvest lionfish all day, every day for your entire life. There are just, you know, certain areas where you can't harvest or spearfish in general. And in those areas, you are not allowed to harvest lionfish unless you are part of like a dive tournament or a spearfishing tournament or a dive group or something. Then we do offer certain permits that allow you to harvest lionfish in specific, like no spearing areas. And then for those few divers that are certified with their rebreather, they are able to remove lionfish using a rebreather. And that just kind of allows people to go to deeper depths. So a lot of people, I am going to be completely honest with you, I did not work for the agency when all of this stuff was going on with ulcerative skin disease, so I'm not super familiar with everything. But a couple years ago, we were seeing these ulcers on these lionfish, and we still don't know really where they came from or what is causing them. But the disease definitely had an impact on the lionfish populations. I don't even think we know if it's bacterial or viral or anything. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we don't know that. So we were seeing, you know, ulcered fish all throughout the Gulf of Mexico. There were some sightings over off of the Atlantic. It kind of went away for a little bit, but now we recently, just like maybe 2 months ago, got a report of some more lionfish that had it up in the Panhandle. And I know there was a guy probably like a year ago who was seeing them off of the Atlantic as well. So we don't know if it's coming back or if that was just a crazy, you know, who knows what happened. But this disease targeted all lionfish, but it seemed to wipe out some of the juvenile lionfish. So, which, I mean, it'd be great if it got all of them, but, you know, it is still good to get the juveniles as well. So we did see a decline in the populations after that, but we're definitely not seeing these ulcers as much as we were when this outbreak was happening. And I mean, if you guys have questions on this, I will do my best to answer them, but I am not super familiar with any of this. And I don't think many of us are. So then now I will go into a bunch of the different programs that FWC offers for lionfish. So we have, you know, diver related programs, but also educational programs. And just through our programs, since the program started, the Lionfish program started in 2014, FWC, which is just through our programs, we've tracked the removal of over 780,000 lionfish. So just within, 5-6 years, pretty crazy. And that's just through our program. That's not including, what everyone else is out there doing on their own. So one big thing that we would typically do all the time if COVID wasn't happening, we have an outreach booth. It's our Be the Predator outreach booth. We take this to festivals and schools and anything, any public event where there's, vendors and education. And we just, kind of talk to the public about lionfish. We have little goodies and handouts and stuff like I have here today. And it's a lot of fun. It's always great to get, people interested in learning about lionfish. And then we also have this really fun program called Classroom Invasion, where we will go into classrooms and I'll talk like I'm doing right now. And then we will dissect lionfish with the students. And so the students are able to, cut the lionfish open and they can determine if it's male or female. And then they can also cut the stomach open and see what the lionfish ate last, which is really fun. I actually just had one last week. And most of the time, because lionfish eat their prey whole, you can find like whole fish in their stomachs. And then we do offer a lot of just like educational resources. So we have lesson plans and worksheets and games and stuff for teachers who want to like conduct their own invasive species or lionfish the lesson as well. And then our Lionfish Education Exhibit Program, this is mainly for like public facilities who are interested in conservation of the ocean and, specifically lionfish. But what they can do is they can set up a lionfish education exhibit and we will give them a little bit of money to help offset the cost of doing so. And we provide them with, the information, but they are free to do whatever they want. So a lot of people do aquariums, but as you can see, some people do like informational boards, and it's great. We've got a bunch all over the state of Florida, and we I don't know what I was just gonna say. Yeah, it's great. You see them a lot at like dive shops and like science centers and aquariums and stuff like that. But it's just a great way for, fish always attract people. So it's a good way to kind of get our messaging out and make sure it's consistent throughout everything.
Jessica, we do have one question right now.
Yeah.
From Ryan Andrews. And Ryan is asking, where lionfish are native, what are their natural born predators?
So grouper is one. Also cornet fish, which I don't know if anybody here is familiar with a cornet fish or like a trumpet fish, but they're long and skinny fish. I honestly can't imagine one eating a lionfish. But we also, their populations in their native range are nothing like they are compared to here. So they haven't been studied really at all over there. Not like we are studying them here, because you won't see hundreds of them in one area. You'll see like one or two on the reef. But yeah, grouper and cornet fish would be like the big two, probably sharks, because sharks eat everything. But yeah, those are the common ones.
Well, where are they native to?
The Indo-Pacific. Yes. So like, the Indian Ocean.
Those of you in the room who are asking questions, if you could speak up, we can't hear you.
She came in during the presentation, so she just missed where lionfish are from.
Got it.
So that's what she was asking.
Thanks.
Yep. So then we do, I kind of talked about like the educational programs that we offer. And now these are more of our diver incentive programs. So the best way to incentivize people to do anything is to pay them. So we have a couple programs that offer money, it's kind of like a bounty program, but it's not. but we will pay people to go out and harvest lionfish. So we have a recreational program, and this is for, you know, recreational divers who do not have this specific license to commercially sell fish. This is for, you know, someone like me, where I would just go out and get some lionfish and take them home and eat them. But so for this program, as long as you get 8 fish per diver, we will give you $50 per diver. So if you were to get, you know, 32 fish and you had 4 divers on the boat, you would get $200. It's a great program. We have a lot of people participate. And then if you have a saltwater products license, is what it's called, or an SPL, which I'm going to refer to it as. If you hold an SPL and you sell your, you know, fish commercially, you have to participate in the commercial program. So when you have this SPL and you sell your lionfish commercially, you usually sell to a wholesale dealer, and then they pay you roughly $5 a pound is what lionfish go for. So then once you sell your fish to them, they give you this trip ticket, and then you submit your trip ticket to us, and we will pay you an additional $3 a pound. So you're making about $8 a pound off of lionfish, which is pretty good. And you know, we're really trying to boost the commercial market, so this is a good way to hopefully do that. And then we have our tournament assistance program. So one big successful way that we have found to—
Another question.
Yeah.
From Ryan Andrews. Have they ever considered introducing the predators to our waters, or would these fish also be too invasive?
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think? I'm sure everyone heard that. So the question was, if, you know, we introduce their predators to our waters, like, would that has that been considered? Yes, it has. And unfortunately, lionfish were introduced, you know, not knowing the effect that they would have on the environment. And probably the same way with these other predators. And you know, we do have cornet fish and groupers and stuff here, which could eat lionfish, but they just don't know yet that lionfish is a good source of prey. So yeah, we do not recommend introducing anything new. We also don't recommend teaching sharks to eat lionfish. We would like that all just to happen naturally. Yeah, so our tournament assistance program, a big way to, you know, get a lot of people removing lionfish all at one time is through a spearfishing tournament. And so what we do is we offer funds to help, you know, host these tournaments and pay for them, and remove lionfish. So if you have a spearfishing tournament, if it's lionfish specific, we will give you up to $2,400. Just depends on how many people participate in the tournament. And then let's say it's a spearfishing tournament where, you know, you've got snapper and grouper and everything else, but you do have a lionfish category. We will give you $500 to help just, you know, pay for whatever you need to make the tournament happen. Yes.
So another question from Adriana. How about introducing more groupers?
Yeah, we
Establish that, guys.
he really wants to introduce some more grouper, huh? Yeah, so we do not recommend introducing anything new into the environment just because we don't know what kind of impact it is going to have. Of course, we would all love more grouper, but
yeah, what about the grouper that is native to here? Is there any way to introduce more of those?
I mean, through, you know, like aquaculture programs, yes. I don't know if there's a lot of aquaculture going on with grouper. I know there is, like with red drum, and I think one of the trouts is big in aquaculture, but I don't know about grouper. I don't know if it's just the way that they, you know, their lifestyle is different. I have no idea. But yeah, you know, hopefully we're hoping over time grouper will start to eat lionfish more. And I
just don't know yet.
Yeah, and we don't want, you know, we don't want to condone you hand feeding a lionfish to some creature, because then that, you know, fish is going to associate divers with food. And that's what happens in, you know, a lot of these big touristy areas where they, you know, hand feed sharks and do that kind of stuff, is once divers hit the water, the sharks are there because they hear the sound of the bubbles and they think, oh, I'm gonna get fed now. So yeah, we definitely just are hoping it will happen naturally. But till then, that's why we're here. Do you have another question? Are you good? Okay. So one of our biggest tournaments, you could say, is the Lionfish Removal and Awareness Day. This is held every May. This past year, we had to cancel it because of COVID. But as of right now, the 2021 one is all go.
So that's what we're practicing.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yes. Oh, we're not that far from Destin.
No,
Oh my gosh.
no,
I
we
think
always
should
travel
have
up there
South
to-
Florida for some
to-
crazy-
We actually just had a trip to Destin not long ago with Scuba Friends with this group. So
Yeah,
Oh,
we always go up there to the Panhandle to
Mhm.
dive.
yeah, I love the Panhandle.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Lionfish is taking over Destin area, and they're alive.
Yeah, so we were the most of the populations for a while. We were seeing the most dense populations in the Panhandle area.
Not South Florida.
Yes, in South Florida too.
Okay.
So it's, you know, a lot of people associate the Panhandle with lionfish, because we do see a lot up there, but we see them everywhere. The only reason you see larger populations in a small area in the Gulf of Mexico is because the Gulf of Mexico lacks so much structure. So typically, if you're going to find lionfish, they're going to be on, you know, a small artificial reef or a wreck or maybe a ledge. Whereas, you know, South Florida and the Atlantic is covered and the whole seafloor is reef. There's not as much sand, whereas most of the Gulf of Mexico is sand. So people were getting like hundreds of lionfish at a time out of the Panhandle because they could drop down on, you know, this artificial reef and get 100 lionfish. Whereas we're not seeing the numbers like that anymore. But yeah, the Panhandle's great for lionfish. Yeah, so El Rad, which is what we call this, is happening in May. It's the weekend after Mother's Day. So if you guys are able to, you should definitely come. It is awesome. It's a huge festival. There is a tournament associated with it, which is the Emerald Coast Open Tournament. And that, you know, I believe the categories are still the same. Yes, they are. So with that, you know, you compete for whoever can get the most lionfish, the smallest and the largest. And then the winners are announced at the Lionfish Festival. But on top of just the tournament, you know, there are booths and there's food and you get to try lionfish. There's lots of conservation and art, and anyone related to diving is usually there. It is a ton of fun. And I know because we missed last year, we are really trying to make this year just pretty, you know, awesome.
Yeah, we should definitely do field trip.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you should. It's great.
I heard lionfish is actually very tasty too.
It is.
Yes.
It so
Apparently,
is.
I heard that Destin cooks a lot of like dips and stuff. but I heard
Really
it's-
good, really good
It's
tasting.
really good. Yeah.
tastes like grouper, only better.
It's so
Yeah, a
good.
lot
Yeah.
of people compare it to hogfish. I've never had hogfish, so I don't know. But yeah.
I only had it in ceviche, but it was like really good. I had it in Aruba recently.
Ooh.
It was but I want to try it in different ways.
Yeah, well, so there's also, I did kind of put it in here. There is a thing called Restaurant Week that is associated with the Lionfish Festival. And so that's the week before. So, you know, you would obviously have to be there for more than just the festival weekend, but different restaurants in the Destin area will serve a lionfish dish. And they'll just kind of help promote, you know, the festival and awareness and all of that kind of stuff. And it's just really fun. If you guys get a chance to go, definitely go and look for our Be the Predator booth, because that's where we'll be. And you can come meet me in person. All right. And then right after the Lionfish Festival is the Lionfish Challenge. This is one of our biggest incentives that we put on for the year. It is awesome. I highly recommend all of you join or register and participate. You don't have to go anywhere or special to do it. You just have to get Lionfish. So basically it's kind of like a giant tournament that lasts for months, but you're competing for the title or the crown, you know, for the top dog, but we know not everyone's going to get there. So we offer prizes, you know, after you get so many Lionfish. So we're still working on all of that information right now, but as of last year, what we did is once you got to 20, you know, once you harvested 20 Lionfish, you were qualified for the challenge. I mean, you got a shirt, which I have some here for you guys. Oh, actually I have them for everyone. So if anyone wants a shirt, tell me your size and I'll leave them here. And it has that picture on there. That was the logo. Well, I'll show you guys the shirt in a moment.
I love shirts.
Okay, what was the cost for shirts? Because we have people in the chat box saying they'd like shirts.
$0. They are free.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to send you a list because we've got people typing in the chat box what they would like.
Perfect. Yeah.
And I know you have hats for sale as well. So when you're done sharing your screen, show us those hats. Because I knew one person remote who wanted to order a hat so far.
Awesome. All right. Yes, I will definitely do that. But yeah, so the challenge, once you get 20 Lionfish, you qualify, and you get a shirt and this little coin. And the coin is actually good for an extra lobster during the mini season. It doesn't really incentivize that many people, but some people who are big lobster fishermen, you know, they do utilize this. And then once you get a few more Lionfish, you get another prize and another prize and another prize. This past year, our tiers were, it was, you know, number of Lionfish. So 20, 50, 100, 200, 300, 400. And then we do have a commercial category as well for those people who hold that SPL license, like I was talking about earlier. And they go by pounds. So theirs is a little bit more, but yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I just like blanked. But it is a ton of fun. So this past year, 2020, we had almost 200 participants. Throughout the challenge, you know, we removed over 21,000 Lionfish. And some of the prizes that we give away, just so you guys, you know, are kind of aware of what it is we've got. I've got a couple things with me today, but we gave out the winners won Perdix Shearwater dive computers, which are like really, really nice dive computers. And then, you know, we gave out some GoPros and BCDs and tanks. Winners got tanks and zookeepers and pole spears and, you know, all these really cool coolers. So we really try to, like, you know, give out good prizes to encourage people to participate. And it's pretty easy. If you can get out and harvest Lionfish and submit them, we will send you a prize.
So how do you submit them?
So the submission process is actually very easy this year. It was not this past year, so I won't even tell you about it. It doesn't matter. But what you do is we have these things called checkpoints, and it's basically dive shops all around the state of Florida. And what you do is you just cut the tail off of your fish and you take the tails to the checkpoint and submit to them, and they hang on to them. That way, you know, if we need to confirm your count, we can count the tails. So it's very easy. In the past, it was a little more difficult, but this year we're really just trying to simplify all of it. And they're all over the place, so you can usually find one at least somewhere near you. And then for the commercial people, because they do sell their fish, you know, they get that thing called a trip ticket, and they just submit that to us, and we use that as their count. But that way, you know, you can submit the tails of the Lionfish and then do whatever you want with them. If you want to eat them, they're yours to keep. And it's great. If you guys, you know, really get into harvesting Lionfish, I highly recommend participating in the challenge. It is so much fun. And we give out some good prizes. And if you have recommendations for prizes, we will take them, because we are in the planning stages right now. So we're open to anything that divers are interested in.
Well, everything you mentioned sounds great.
Yeah. And so then, you know, lionfish are good to eat. So unfortunately, I do not know of any restaurants in the area that serve lionfish. It is a very hit or miss kind of thing, unfortunately. But we do have a
Cool Beans, by the way. I've seen it on the menu at Cool Beans Cafe in Tallahassee.
Oh, really?
That's awesome. I didn't know.
I'm
that.
sure it's during season.
I have
I'm
never
sure when
seen
there's
it.
more.
Every
of it, I
time
have
we
seen it
go,
there.
I have never seen the
Yeah,
lionfish.
is it?
God.
Yeah, I've seen it. There's another local restaurant too that's had it on the menu in the past, but I'll check with them and confirm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's awesome. I mean, yeah, because it's so hard to know. And, you know, there are a lot of places that will serve it sometimes if they have it, but you never know. But I know a lot of people will say like, oh, this restaurant announces like, hey, we've got lionfish this day, and they'll sell out within a few hours. So the demand is there. It's just getting it everywhere that, you know, is somewhat of an issue. But if you do get some lionfish and you just want to take it home, Reef offers, they have 2 editions of this cookbook out now. And you can, the link is on there, which doesn't help you as much, but if you just look up like Lionfish Cookbook, you'll be able to find it. But there are a bunch of fun different recipes in there. And the book also tells you how to fillet a lionfish, so you can do it yourself. To just talk about that really fast, since we're talking about it, you can cut the spines off ahead of time if you want. You do not have to. The venom does not get into the meat of the lionfish, so the meat's totally safe. But for your safety and, you know, with handling, it's probably best to just cut the spines off. And you can do it with like a heavy duty, you know, kitchen shear or something. And then you would just cut it like you would any other fish. It's very simple. All right, so this is just all of my contact information. I suppose I will just leave this up here for a hot minute for those of you who are virtual. That way you guys can take it down if you need it. Otherwise, Gabrielle has all of my information as well. And we do have a Facebook page. So if you guys want to go and follow the Facebook page, we really try to keep a lot of information up to date on there with all of our programs. So especially the Lionfish Challenge and the festival and tournaments and everything going on. We do, you know, we make a lot of our announcements on there. So it's a great way to keep up to date. And, you know, it's, I don't know, good for our outreach information and stuff like that too. And sometimes we'll have fun little facts about lionfish as well. And then we do have a couple different websites. I guess I can talk about both of those too. So the main agency page is the myfwc.com/lionfish. That page is going to have a lot of like the information that I talked about today, not related to our programs. So that'll have a lot of the like, you know, educational stuff and a lot of the educational materials. Whereas the FWC Reef Rangers page or website, that's going to be like the challenge and LRAD and the big, you know, more fun stuff.
Specific.
Yeah. All right. If anyone needs this information, it'll, you know, I can type it into the chat box too later.
That'd be great. I also wanted to let you know, Jessica, there's a lot of people typing in the chat box, super excited about those shirts.
Good.
And saying they love you and all kinds of fun stuff. I did want to ask you, we had a couple of people ask about shipping, if they could pay to have it shipped. We have at least one domestically and one, if he's for real, in Bimini.
Yeah, definitely. Don't even worry about paying for it. We'll take care of it.
Awesome. So just message me, you guys. Message me instead of putting it in the chat box. If you would message me with your size shirt preference. It did capture everyone who's put it in the chat box. But regarding sending it by mail, if you'll just message me with your mailing address and your shirt size, that would be helpful. Oh, and the Bimini thing is a joke. Thank you, Ryan Andrews. Okay. Okay. That's why I said if he's real. I don't know about that, but we do have at least 2 people who need it shipped.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay,
I
cool.
was gonna say, maybe if you have like a Venmo or Cash App or PayPal, someone that maybe they don't have to pay for it, but if they want to donate.
Yeah, so we do have a donation page. I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you go to the My FWC, yeah, you know what? Venmo it to me. That'll be easier than me trying to describe to you where this.
And those hats that you have some handy. Can you go ahead and stop screen sharing and show us the hats?
Yeah,
1 second.
my screen just went totally black. Maybe it died.
Maybe it died.
Split
You
second.
can.
What's that?
Are you? It looks like her computer died. Can you stop
No, her
sharing
computer
it for
didn't
her?
die. She probably doesn't have it plugged in, and so it's on standby mode. We still see it. I'm going to stop
Oh,
sharing
oh,
your
okay.
screen.
Yeah, it's dying.
You can unplug it.
Stop sharing your screen so we can see you.
Okay. Nope, that's not. Can we unplug
Unplug
this
mine.
one?
Unplug mine.
Okay. All right, so you guys can you see me now?
I'm trying to stop sharing your screen, and you have control right now. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm just gonna shut this off. Here, perfect.
Oh, yeah, so like this
Then we
includes
can
all
let it.
Regarding the hats, can you show us a hat? And we have at least one person who would like to buy a hat. They're $20.
Yeah, and then I'll show you guys real quick too how to use the pole spear and stuff as well. So these are the hats. If you guys can
Ooh,
see.
nice.
Yeah, they're cool. They're snapback. So yeah, they, go to help support our programs and everything. So if anyone's interested in getting one, they're $20. I don't know what's going on. F1. Okay. But yeah, so, and also too, I mean, you don't have to buy one right now, but if you pay cash, you don't have to pay taxes. So it's a little bit cheaper. If you do it through the website, you do have to pay a little bit extra. So I will leave however many here. Okay. Yeah, I think my computer just died.
That's what we finished.
It was good timing on the computer dying.
That was too good. And I don't know if any of you are watching the video, but that video was taken a couple years ago, but you could just see like all of the lionfish and it was crazy. And so the girl that was diving, she filled up her zookeeper in 6 minutes.
Wow.
Like, completely filled it up. Yeah. So then the shirts too, just so you guys can see what they look like. You guys are lucky your takers coming today.
Yeah.
Are they even long sleeve? Yeah.
Oh,
I love it even more.
So these are the shirts. So this is
Ooh,
the front. They are a
nice.
dry fit shirt, and they're like kind of a light blue.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, and then these are the back, and they just have the challenge logo on them.
Love it.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
they're awesome.
I'll be
They're
taking mine and my sister's.
yes. And
Wow, those are the free shirts?
yes.
Right.
Oh yes.
Right.
Oh boy, I'm just letting you know, everyone in attendance has requested shirts, so.
Good. We have. They're from the challenge, and not to like give you guys our leftovers, but they are our leftovers, and we have
We
so
don't
many
mind
of them.
leftovers at all.
We'll take them.
Those are awesome.
Good. I know. I was like, this is what everyone.
That's
does.
what
And if I don't have enough sizes here, I can, if you guys aren't doing anything, we could run to the office really fast and get a couple more. It's like 10 minutes away from here.
Yeah, I've got a huge list of people who want.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So I might not have enough.
Gabrielle, if you want to send them to me, I'll separate everything.
Okay, I'm working on it right now. I'm working on assembling everyone's list.
Okay. So then, for those of you still watching, if you guys want, I can show you
Yes, please.
kind of how to use a pole spear.
Hey,
So-
before you do that, we did have one more question from Ryan
Oh.
Andrews. When he
Yes.
wasn't saying he needed it mailed to Bimini, he was asking about reporting a fish from Bimini if it was on a liveaboard.
Oh. Well, we are Florida Fish and Wildlife. Those maps, they show fish, in lionfish reported in other areas. I mean, we don't specifically take the reports. Reef, the organization Reef, I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. They actually have a website that you can go to and report your lionfish sightings. So if he wants to check that out, that would be a good place to do that, because I'm sure that they want that information, because they're the ones that we get some of that, those maps from. They help make them, so I'm sure it goes off of a lot of the data that they have.
So
Jessica,
to report.
Where can people, if they want to donate, where can they Venmo money to you to donate?
Yeah, let me, can we type in that right now?
Yes.
Okay, how do I do that?
Let me.
So what I'll do is I'll just type my Venmo in the chat box, and I promise you guys I'm not keeping the money. I will send
If you
it
want, I
all.
can type it in for
Pictures
you.
of Jessica on vacation. Thank you guys. Your donations are appreciated. Look at all the lionfish I got.
Yes, for me.
Yes.
So bad. Okay. So it's
At, okay,
yeah, and it's like
Jessica
dash.
dash.
Valek.
Okay, I sent it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, sorry guys, I'll start sharing my screen again, or my video.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so that way, I promise you guys, everything will go into our foundation account. It will not go into my pocket. And I can, you can figure out how much it is, and I'll show you a picture of the check that I sent to them. But, okay, so are you guys ready to learn how to use a pole spear?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Everyone on virtual ready, probably? All right, let's hope so. Okay, so thankfully, using a pole spear is very simple. I hope I can do this well enough so they can all see. But basically what you have is, like your shaft here. It's just got a 3-pronged tip. For those on there, you can kind of see, very simple. And then it's just got like this rubber, I don't know, bungee on the back. And so thankfully, lionfish don't really, swim away because they don't see you as anything scary. So you can get pretty close to them. So all you do is you stick your thumb through this bungee part right here, and you stretch it down the length of the shaft as far as you can go. And so what that does is it kind of loads it, and then you just aim at your lionfish and you let it go, and the spear will shoot out that way. So I'll do it a couple times, and I'll try to do it a little bit faster so you can see it in action, so it doesn't look like it's nothing. I won't point it at you, I promise.
I'm waiting for it to turn this way.
I know. Watch out. Yeah, so you just stick your thumb in here and you stretch the band down and then pop it out. It's very easy. I brought extras so you guys can try it.
Okay.
And also if anyone,
Hey, while you guys are trying it, show us your attempt so we can see what a non-pro looks like doing it.
Let's get up here. Come on.
I was like, oh, is this how we wrap it around us so we don't lose this?
And for those, who are online, if you didn't quite catch what I did, I'm happy to do it again. Otherwise, the internet is amazing.
I'm too weak.
I
was like, this stretching.
See,
Oh, I get it a little bit.
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
little.
well, and
But it didn't go far.
so use your thumb.
It's this one.
Yeah, go like,
Oh, okay.
and that helps to get it. And really, you don't have to get it super crazy stretched out, because as long as you get close enough, yeah.
I got it.
There you go. You're back here. And we recommend, shooting for the head of the lionfish, just because it's big and meaty and easy, and lionfish do not die right away. So once you get your lionfish, this is what we call the zookeeper or lionfish containment unit. So once you get your lionfish and you have it on your spear tip, there's a funnel on the inside of this, if you can kind of see that there. And what you do is you just have your lionfish, you stick it in, the funnel pulls it off the spear, and you're ready to go again.
What's the average amount of lionfish?
It really depends.
Like an average
It's,
adult, maybe?
probably like 30,
Okay.
40, depending on the size. But it really just depends on the size. And there are lots of different sizes of the zookeepers as well. This is not the only size. They make bigger ones and smaller ones. But the outside, you know, it's hard plastic, so it protects everyone from getting stung. Because the lionfish will usually still be alive in this thing. It's crazy. And then to get them out, because a lot of people don't know, you just unscrew the top. And then see, this is like the funnel part that I was talking about. It just comes out and you just take the lionfish out. Pretty easy.
Is it like you try and
Where can you get
jab?
this?
What if you jab the lionfish and say you miss or something like that? Do they come after you? Are they
No.
aggressive? Are they like hippos at the sea?
Not at all. So lionfish, one thing I didn't mention with their spines is they don't use them as an attack mechanism. They are strictly used for defense. So you don't have to worry. Yeah, a lionfish is not going to come and attack you. He'll just like kind of dodge your spear and then stay right there. And you know, with that video, I wish my computer wouldn't have died. You can see in the video how, you know, she's getting a lionfish that's 1.5 feet away from another lionfish, and the other lionfish just don't even notice that the one next to them is dying. Yeah.
Hey, Jessica, we have a couple more questions. One, someone is asking if it is safe if they don't have any idea how to fillet a lionfish. And another is asking you to please demonstrate the capturing of it again.
Okay. Yeah, so we have a video online. If you go to the My FWC page, there is a video on how to fillet a lionfish. And it kind of walks you through the whole process. In the video, they don't cut the spines off, but it's not super easy to cut the spines off because they are like a very hard structure. But once you can get them off, you know, basically what you do, I guess, so you would, when you like fillet a lionfish, you would start cutting behind the gills right up here, and just, you know, get your knife up in there and slide it along the back of the fish to the tail. But we do have a video on the myfwc.com/lionfish page.
And I'll put that on SCUBA Friends so people can access it quickly and easily.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I can, you know, get you all of that information too.
Great.
But yes, there is a nice video online that will tell you how to do it. All right. And then, yeah,
Jessica,
yeah, what?
hi, was curious, what's the average weight of the lionfish or size or whatever?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that earlier. Thank you for asking that. So the average size in their native range, they usually grow to be about like 15 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here in their like invaded range, we're seeing them up to 19 inches long.
Okay.
So yeah, they're, you know, they're larger here. Their populations are larger and more dense.
Mm-hmm.
Weight is, you know, pretty standard of a fish. So, you know, a little over a pound, like a big lionfish is going to be a little bit over a pound, but
Gotcha.
on average, it's about a pound of fish. Well, I guess, okay, a little bit more. I'm thinking like when you cut the meat off.
The
yeah,
fillet is like a pound from,
yeah.
Yep.
So maybe
Gotcha.
like,
So the fillet part is like average a pound.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank
So
you.
Jessica,
Yeah.
Ryan Andrews is saying, make sure you let everybody know you're leaving a blood trail. He said that he was on a Caribbean reef with sharks chasing him down because they knew he had something and it was in a zookeeper.
Well,
Oh, that's scary.
That's funny.
You don't tell that to people, okay?
Especially
Scary
people who are
developments.
just now trying to learn how to do
But then, you know, that's one of the reasons we really try not to, because a lot of people are like, why don't you just train the sharks to eat lionfish? And that's one of the reasons, you know, we don't want people doing stuff like that, is because they will get used to seeing these people, these divers, and like, oh, they have fish, I'm gonna go get me some fish. Oh, last four, something, I don't know what it said. I was trying to read it. I should not do that while I'm talking. But yeah, so you should definitely still, you know, be careful harvesting lionfish, and always be aware of your surroundings, no matter what, when you are scuba diving.
And life, I guess.
Yes, and life, yeah, and life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just to show you guys, again, how to work the pole spear. Oh my gosh. So you have, you know, your tip here. I don't know, like I'm trying to. There. So these are 3-pronged. There are actually. Oh no! Oh, I don't have. There are ones that are like 6 or 5. It just depends. This is, you know, a specific type of pole spears. There are other types of pole spears out there that are a little different. But basically what you do is you've got this rubber band down here, and you just want to stick your thumb, you stick the band in the thumb and stretch it as far down the pole as you can. And then you just let it go and the pole spear shoots forward. And you can get pretty close to a lionfish. So like, I mean, you can get like, do you want to hold it?
So here it is, guys.
Yeah.
Swimming.
Oh, well, slower than that. They don't swim. But so you can get, you know, roughly from here to a lionfish and then get them. They're pretty just, they don't care about us as humans, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, it's a good thing.
Hey, Jessica, I'm having people saying they want to Venmo you and they need the last 4 digits of your phone number in order to verify they
Oh, okay. It's 1154. Yeah, we'll type it into the.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Someone got it. Yep, there you go.
Thanks, Dree.
That's what they meant about the last 4. I saw something that was like, we need Jessica's last 4 something. I was like, what? But so I do have a couple other things that I'm going to leave here too that people can come grab if they want. Because like I said, we had a lot of stuff left over from the challenge. So I have stickers and I do have like keychains and stuff. I also have can koozies because who doesn't love can koozies?
Oh yeah.
So you guys go. And then I'll just leave most of this stuff here. But so these are our can koozies. If you guys want them, I've got a handful with me. I will just leave them here. And I guess when you come grab your shirt, hopefully you can come grab one.
That'd be
I'll
great.
take another one for my sister.
Yes, you will.
Someone is asking if you have PayPal too, Jessica.
I do not. I have Cash App, if that helps.
So the person asking for PayPal, do you have Cash App or Venmo? If not, if you could get that, that would be great.
I should.
It's really easy.
It's all really easy. I mean, I just like have never done it.
Any other questions for Jessica? Jessica, you're getting lots of expressions of gratitude in the chat box. I just want to let you know how much we appreciate you, not just for the free shirts and other things, but truly you're an excellent presenter, very knowledgeable, and we learned a lot. And I don't know about everyone else, but I look forward to actually getting out there in the ocean and attempting.
Yeah.
So we're all gonna go on a field trip, right? For the tournament?
Right, we are when the water's warmer for sure.
Yeah, May 15th, right? May 15th.
Yeah, no, we'll do one. We'll do at least one before then, and so that everyone
just let
can
me know so I can drive up.
everyone can practice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I would
I
like to
thank
join
you
as well.
all so much for joining.
Mark says,
And-
make 2021 as bad for Lionfish as 2020 was for us.
I like that. That's a good
I
slogan.
love
That's a
That's
very good
perfect.
slogan.
I have been trying to come up with a New Year's
That is
like
great.
thing for Lionfish, and I was trying to compare it to 2020, and I couldn't. That is, I'm stealing it.
Genius.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I don't know who that was.
Good job,
but
Mark.
I'm taking your idea, and I loved it.
Awesome.
That was awesome. But yeah, you guys, this was great. And I know there were only 3 of you in here, but it was still fun for the 3 that were in here. And I'm, glad everyone could join. And yeah, I've got lots of goodies. So, and two, I don't know if I should, well, Gabrielle has my contact information. So if anybody has questions about any of the programs or anything, you're interested in participating or just about anything in general, she's got all of my contact information, so she can spread that along to you guys if you need it.
That's great. And I know we have at least like 5 people who could not attend live and they're going to watch the recording. I will put the recording up for those of you who joined late, and I'm sure we'll have more questions that come out of that as well. But thank you so much for taking time out of your evening and sharing your knowledge with us.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I absolutely love doing this kind of stuff. It's so much fun.
Yep. Thanks, Jessica. This was awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right. Any final thoughts or anything you want to share?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is there is a chance I might not have enough shirts for everyone on me, but the office is literally like 10 minutes away. So,
I live right here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so what I can do is run back and grab them real quick, and then bring everything back here. That way you guys have, the only thing is if there are a lot of requests for smalls, I don't have a ton of smalls. So you might be getting a medium, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. So far we have about 3 requests for smalls, maybe 4, 5. But I'm sure that people won't mind a little bit larger size.
Yeah, they're good boat shirts too. So when you're outside and the mediums aren't that much bigger. So
right, they're great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Ryan's asking if we have extra large shirts.
We do have 2XL.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, but I don't have a 3X.
That's all right. We've only had the largest size request has been an XXL.
Perfect. Yep.
All right. Well, we can work out the shirt stuff later. Thank you so much for everyone who is participating and all the questions and the interactions. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can have more of this kind of stuff. Thank you. And thank you, Jessica, again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. This was great. I hope you all learn how to harvest lionfish and get out there and participate in the challenge.
All right. And Ryan Fahey's asking if anyone's diving this weekend. So we'll carry those conversations over to the Scuba Friends thread. And I will talk to everyone later. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.